Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to be using bass gear for the surf. And what I mean by bass gear is casting setup, sensitive rod. This happens to be the 13 Fishing Z3. It is rated for saltwater. It has all the anti-corrosive properties. So this video is going to be basically to see how this performs, also how the rod performs, and if you guys end up liking it and it's a successful trip, I'm gonna be doing more fishing with this setup, so follow along. Definitely hit that subscribe button for future videos using this setup. What really sold me on this reel is that it has 30 pounds of drag. So if I do decide to go for, let's say, white sea bass, or if I do catch more striper, I mean, this thing can definitely handle them. Maybe even take it rock fishing on a different rod. Yeah, so no ball bearings on this thing. This is the iRod Genesis 2. It is a 7'11". It's got a moderate action and it's really sensitive. It's a graphite rod. So here's the action on it. So it's got a moderate taper, so the bend goes all the way down the rod. Very limber. So let's take it out. So today I plan on throwing multiple baits. This one is the Lucky Craft Surf Pointer in the anchovy pattern. So this is a 3/4 ounce bait, and I had this rod dialed in. I was casting actually a really lightweight. So this is the first cast right here. Let's see how it does. Okay, so first cast, I just wanted to lob it. I have braid tied on right now. It's 50-pound braid. And when you're tuning a bait caster and you're casting for the first time, you don't really want to give it your all, because that could lead to backlashing. So that was a little bit farther this time. So far, so good. So since this is a cranking stick, I can definitely feel every little bump on the bottom. That is awesome. I feel like I could probably loosen the tension on this to get a little bit more distance. Oh, that was good. Little sidearm. It's gonna be so awesome to catch a fish on this setup. I do plan on throwing the Lucky Craft 110 on this to see how it does later on. And then I also have a Carolina rig on standby. But the reason, again, I got this setup is because it's really comfortable too. Like, you could tuck this butt section into your armpit, and since the reel is sitting just right here, it's so comfortable. Everything stays compact. My shoulder isn't strained from holding a spinning setup. It's pretty nice. This is pretty cool. I can actually work this thing like I do a jerk bait working for bass. I can actually feel like I'm darting it around, pausing it, letting it suspend, maybe entice a bite. I think I got some seaweed on right now. Oh, came off. But so far, this setup is working as I had imagined. Pretty nice. This reel also has a pretty fast gear ratio, which is nice because I can start the retrieve as the bait hits the water and pick up all the slack in the line. I think that the biggest challenge in the future can be windy days. If there's a windy day, it could make backlashing a lot easier. Got the horse in this little piece of seaweed. Felt nice and smooth as I retrieved it, not bad. And then one added benefit to bait casters over spinning setups is that with the bait caster, setup time is a breeze. So right when you bring it back, in terms of your lure, once you bring the lure back, you can click the button and get ready for a cast without having to reset a bail, make sure that your line is out of the guides long enough. It's just, you can probably make a lot more casts. See, I'm already ready. With the bait caster, I would have to make sure that my spool is in the right position and all of that. I mean, fishing is a game of opportunity, really. And if you have the opportunity, or if you're able to get your bait in the water more, your opportunities increase in terms of being able to catch a fish. One thing that I've always said to myself is, when your bait is in the water, you always have a chance. The only time you're not gonna catch, for sure, 100%, is when your bait is out of the water. So keeping your bait in the water is key, and that's one big element of a bait caster. And I've always wanted to use a bait caster from shore. Most people go for the spinning setups. All right, so I was throwing that 3/4 ounce bait, and I was dragging the bottom quite a bit, a little bit more than I wanted. But the really nice thing is the rod did transfer that sensitivity. So let's go ahead and switch it to a 5/8 ounce. So this is a little over half an ounce. We'll see how the bait caster launches this. I was pretty happy about the distance that I've been getting out of the 3/4 ounce. I could have tuned it a little bit more, but I was able to get well past the strike zone, and we'll give this a shot. And then ultimately, if this doesn't work, we'll have to move to the Carolina rig and see how that does. But let's go to the staple, Lucky Craft. So my dad made it too. This is his little spot. Anything yet? Not yet? All right, almost time. Right now it's currently low tide, so we'll see how it shifts, if we see any change.
High tide.
Yeah, this area will be good in high tide. Yeah, so I believe right now is dead low tide, so it's gonna start coming up. So let's try this Lucky Craft. So this dives a little bit more shallow than the surf pointer, so maybe that might be good. Oh yeah, that cast's nice. I just lobbed it out there and went at least 100 feet. Oh, it feels really good. All right. Oh my gosh, I dropped my phone in the water. It's terrible. Whew, thank God I was able to find it. My zippers were open for my vest. Oh, dangerous. Good thing I heard it come out. And good thing I left my wallet in the car. Whew, it's dangerous. Good thing the iPhones are waterproof. That was almost a throwback to Carl Tuchinski, lost his phone on my channel. So when I got this bait cast surf setup, what I was looking for was something that could throw as little as 5/8 ounce, which this is that Lucky Craft 5/8 ounce, all the way to maybe 3/4 ounce plugs. This can cast, it says, from 3/8 ounce all the way to 1.5 ounce. So bucktails are definitely within the wheelhouse of this combination. So that's what you want to look for. And then you also want to look for that parabolic action in the rod, because that allows the fish, when it shakes, it'll allow the rod to absorb all of that connection. So you lessen the chance of losing a fish with a more limber rod like this. So it's a great all-around rod. Oh, my first backlash. I didn't thumb that one at all. Still have some dialing in to do. Well, we found out that it can cast a 5/8 ounce lure pretty well. It's also casted the 3/4 ounce really well. Let's see how the 1 ounce goes. I got a 1 ounce bait that Dylan's gonna let me use, and it might be familiar to some of you guys, but this is all the rage right now up north where the striped bass are. It's the Joe Bag Swarter. 1 ounce lure, weight transfer system. My buddy Glenn Sales does absolute amazing things with this lure up north where he catches striped bass. It's definitely not a numbers bait, but it's a good bait to throw to get a lot of distance, especially in these low tide conditions when they might be a bit farther out than normal casting range. So that extra ounce and the profile cuts through the wind really well. So we'll see how this new setup does with a heavier bait. I expect it to cast really well. And guys, I'm not trying to just be a 13 fishing fanboy or anything. I mean, I own Shimano's, I own Lew's. Lew's have been my favorite reels. When I bought this, I was really considering the A3 series of this. I was also considering the Shimano Tranx as well as the Corrado K. So those were all different reels that I was deciding on that all have similar characteristics in terms of being saltwater applicable. So we'll see how this Swarter does. All right, I'm gonna lob this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I could already feel that that's gonna be a good casting bait right there. That would be so cool to catch a striper on this thing. No good. Should we go pick up my dad and try a different spot, or you think it's just, or I mean, it could be like this just because it's low tide.
That's what I think, yeah.
It's hard to say. All right, we decided to switch spots. And as you notice, I am driving all by myself. No Dylan, no Dad, no Dexter. And that's because this trip going to this new beach has been very, very eventful. First, I got pulled over because I don't have my license plate on. It's actually right here. And so that's my bad. But the cop was really, really cool. His name's Tony. Awesome guy. Just let me off with a warning. He knew that I worked at a dealership, so I definitely had insurance. I didn't have it on me either, but I had my license and registration, and he let us go. Okay, so that happened. So I got pulled over. The next thing that happened is as we got to the new spot, Guadalupe, it's a nature preserve and you can't bring dogs on, and my dad saw a friend of his, so I lowered the window. Dexter sticks his head out the window, and then the nature preserve docent ended up walking over and saying, "No dogs." He said, "No, you can't have a dog here. The sign is very clear." He's kind of rude about it. He was like, "The sign is very clear." And I went back after he went back to his truck, and I asked him if I can get away with a warning this time, because it's quite the drive home. So yeah, I had to drop Dexter off at home while I left Dylan and my dad to fish. This has definitely been an eventful day. I planned on just videotaping my thoughts and ideas of a bait caster and the Z3, but this has definitely been way more eventful. Otherwise I would have recorded all the events. Finally at the new spot. Gosh, and it's super, super windy. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever seen it this windy. Got a gnarly headwind. This is definitely gonna be a test for this combo. All this wind and waves. We'll see. All right guys, made it back home, and what can I say? I'm gonna have to split it up into two separate things. Fishing yesterday and what I originally set out to do, and talk about my first bait casting setup for the surf. So overall, yesterday, just to give you an idea, low tide, exact dead low tide was 7:48. We got there at 7 o'clock, so it didn't help the cause. Usually I like fishing 2 hours before and after high tide, and then wind picked up around 9 o'clock and it was just all blown out. But that was good in terms of testing out the new setup, which I was casting directly into the wind with a 1 ounce weight at that second spot. It was just so windy, I didn't even want to talk. I was able to get that bait really far out there, and I was gonna show you guys this. This is where you adjust the tension. Most reels have a knob out here that you can adjust, a dial, but this one's internal. You just hold the spool down and you can click to whichever setting you want. And each setting, the higher up you go, the more tension it's gonna put on that line when you're casting out. In this instance, I was set on level 4. Level 0 is basically free spool, and then 6 engages the system to slow down the spool. And then on this side, you have your fine tuning right here. So you can be within that 0 through 6 setting, and then once you find the right one, you can from there fine tune the tightness.
So that's how you dial in a bait casting system. Love the handle. I can just tell once I get into halibut, once I get into maybe some sea bass, some striped bass, this handle will definitely give me a lot of torque. In terms of the reel itself, it was just really smooth. And then, gosh, I'm just really excited to use this. So again, if you guys want to continue seeing me use this, which I definitely will, definitely hit the subscribe button, follow along. I'll keep on using this, keep on giving updates on this particular reel. If you're interested in it, I will leave links below on everything that I used today. And then talking about the Genesis 2 iRod, this is Fred's crank launcher, and it's that 7-Eleven rated to cast from 3/8 ounce all the way up to 1.5 ounce. And they suggest 8 to 20 pound line, which I have 50 pound braid. But this setup was light. I was able to cast it over and over and over. And the one thing I did mention in the video is it's in terms of bait cast over the spinning reels. Nice thing is right when you bring that bait in, you can cast it right away without having to make sure your spool is in the right position or the bail. I mean, especially from the surf, that can be a huge competitive edge, because if you just brought your bait in and you see that the waves just crashed perfectly and you can see exactly where you want to place this bait, this gives you the chance to bring it in and then make that cast right away. As opposed to the spinning gear, you kind of have to wait, make sure that your spool's the right position, then you flip your bail, and then you go and you make your cast. But it might be too late for that spot by the time you're ready. So gosh, just benefits of casting in general. Again, I've been a bass guy for a long time, and being able to take something that I'm very used to and familiar with and use out on the surf has been really awesome. And then not to mention comfort. So I'm holding this like this the whole time. The butt of the rod is under my armpit, so you're just really chilling. There's no like strain that you have to have like when you have a big spinning setup. So anyway, those are just my thoughts, and again, I will be continuing to use this. I do plan on getting some halibut from the shore. I do plan on catching more perch. Perch on this rod will be so fun, even on that Carolina rig, but I had no problems whatsoever in the wind, and casting distance was awesome. So I appreciate you guys joining along. Hopefully this helped you guys out if you are looking at the Z3, or if you're just looking into casting rods and reels in general. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you later.